Today, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey through the life of Helen Keller, a tale of courage, determination, and triumph. Her story not only teaches us about the power of the human spirit, but also enriches our English learning experience with clear and simple sentences. If you find this story motivating and our approach to learning helpful, please show us some love by pressing the like button below. Your likes really encourage us and help us to bring more stories like this one to you. And don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts or how this story inspired you. We love hearing from you, and it helps us make our learning community even stronger. Now, let's turn the page and begin our journey with Helen Keller. Chapter 1. The Silent World. In a small town called Tuscumbia, in the state of Alabama, there was a little girl named Helen Keller. Helen was born on a sunny day in June 1880. In her first year, she was like any other child, full of life and curiosity. Her world was full of colours, sounds and movements. She would listen to the birds singing and watch the leaves dancing in the wind. Helen's laughter was a melody that filled her home with joy. Helen's parents, Arthur and Kate, loved her dearly. They watched her take her first steps and say her first words. They dreamed of all the things Helen would do in her life. The future seemed bright and full of possibilities. But before Helen turned 2 years old, something unexpected happened. She became very sick. For many days and nights, Helen fought the illness. Her parents were worried and hoped for her to recover soon. And Helen did get better, but not everything was the same. The illness took away her ability to see and hear. Helen's world of colours and sounds disappeared. It was like she was alone in a dark and silent room. At first, Helen did not understand what had happened. She would reach for her mother's face and wonder why she couldn't see her smile or hear her voice. Helen became frustrated. She wanted to express her feelings, but she didn't know how. She wanted to ask questions, but there was no one who could understand her. Despite these challenges, Helen was a very smart and determined child. She found ways to communicate using her sense of touch. She would explore the world by feeling different objects and textures. Helen loved nature. She could feel the warmth of the sun on her skin and the cool breeze on her face. These experiences made her happy. Helen's family noticed her desire to understand the world. They tried to help her in every way they could. Her mother would guide Helen's hand over different objects, trying to teach her about them. But without being able to see or hear, Helen found it hard to learn and communicate. Sometimes Helen felt angry and sad because she couldn't share her thoughts with others. She would have tantrums, not knowing how to cope with her feelings. It was a difficult time for her and her family. They wished for a miracle, a way to break through the silence and darkness that surrounded Helen. Despite the challenges, there were moments of joy and wonder in Helen's silent world. She developed a strong bond with nature. She loved to feel the textures of flowers and the shapes of leaves. Helen could sit for hours under the shade of a tree, feeling the vibrations of the ground beneath her. These moments brought her peace. Helen's early life was a mix of darkness and light, silence and discovery. But little did she know, her life was about to change forever. A teacher named Anne Sullivan would soon enter her world. Anne would become a guiding light, helping Helen to find her voice and share it with the world. This was just the beginning of Helen Keller's incredible journey. A journey of courage, learning, and inspiration. Helen's story shows us that even in the face of great challenges, there is always hope and the possibility of achieving something wonderful. Helen's silent world was about to open up in ways she could never have imagined. but that is a story for another chapter. Chapter 2. Darkness and Silence. Before Helen Keller turned 2 years old, a sudden illness changed her life forever. It was a cold winter, and Helen became very sick. At first, her parents thought it was a common cold, but Helen's fever kept rising. She was in bed too weak to play or smile. Her parents were very worried and called the doctor to see her right away. The doctor worked hard to help Helen. He gave her medicine and told her parents to keep her warm. After many days, Helen's fever finally went down. Her parents were relieved and thankful. They thought everything would go back to normal. But they soon realized that something was very wrong. Helen stopped reacting to noises around her. She didn't turn her head when her mother called her name or when the dog barked. And when she picked up her favorite toys, she didn't look at them with her usual interest. Helen's parents were confused and scared. They called the doctor again to find out what was happening. The doctor examined Helen carefully. Then he gave her parents some heartbreaking news. Helen's illness had caused her to lose her hearing and sight. She was living in a world of darkness and silence. This was a big shock for her parents. They didn't know how to help their daughter or what her future would be like. Life became very different for Helen. She couldn't see her parents' faces or hear their voices. She couldn't watch the birds fly or listen to their songs. It was like she was alone in a dark, silent place. Helen became frustrated because she couldn't understand what was happening around her. She wanted to communicate with her family, but she didn't know how. Helen's parents tried to comfort her. They gave her hugs and held her hand. But they felt helpless because they couldn't make her world bright and noisy again. They were sad to see their daughter so confused and upset. Despite these challenges, Helen was a brave and curious child. She started exploring the world in her own way. She used her sense of touch to learn about things. Helen would touch her mother's face to feel her expressions. She would hold different objects and try to figure out what they were. Helen's family was amazed by her determination. They wanted to help her learn and grow. They looked for ways to communicate with her. They used simple signs and gestures, hoping Helen would understand. Sometimes it worked, but often it didn't. It was a slow and difficult process. One day, Helen's mother read about a school for blind children. She learned about a teacher who helped a blind and deaf student. This gave her hope. Maybe someone could help Helen too. Helen's parents decided to find a teacher who could break through the silence and darkness that surrounded their daughter. They didn't give up, even when it seemed impossible. They believed in Helen and her ability to overcome her challenges. This belief led them to Anne Sullivan, a young teacher with a lot of patience and creativity. Anne would become the key to unlocking Helen's silent world. But meeting Anne Sullivan and learning to communicate were just the beginning of Helen's journey. There were many obstacles ahead. Helen had to learn how to speak, read, and write. She had to find her place in a world that was not designed for someone who couldn't see or hear. Helen's story is not just about the challenges she faced. It's also about her incredible spirit and the people who supported her. It's a story of hope, perseverance, and the power of education. Helen Keller's life shows us that with determination and the right help, anyone can overcome obstacles and achieve their dreams. As we continue with Helen's story, we'll see how she transformed from a child trapped in darkness and silence into a famous lecturer and activist. Helen Keller's journey is a testament to the human spirit's strength and the difference one person can make in the world. Chapter 3. The Prison of Isolation. After Helen Keller lost her sight and hearing, she found herself in a world completely different from the one she knew. This new world was quiet and dark, a place where she felt alone even when surrounded by her loving family. Helen's inability to communicate deepened her sense of isolation, making her feel trapped in a silent prison. In the beginning, Helen tried to reach out to the people around her. She would stretch her hands, hoping to touch and understand. But without sight and hearing, Helen struggled to connect. Her mother and father did everything they could. They hugged her, held her hand, and showed her they were there. Yet the barrier remained. Helen couldn't share her thoughts or understand theirs. This was frustrating for a young girl full of curiosity and intelligence. Helen's frustration often led to tantrums. She would scream, kick, and cry, not out of bad behavior, but because she didn't know how else to express her feelings. Her parents felt her pain, but were at a loss on how to ease it. Helen's world was like a puzzle with missing pieces. She knew there was more around her, but she couldn't grasp it. Despite these challenges, Helen's spirit was unbreakable. She was determined to explore and learn. Helen developed a keen sense of touch, smell, and taste. She would spend hours in the garden, feeling the different textures of plants, smelling flowers, and letting the rain touch her face. These experiences were small comforts in her silent and dark world. However, Helen longed for more. She wanted to understand the laughter she felt vibrating through the floor, the warmth of a conversation, and the stories behind the books she could only touch. Helen was trapped in a prison of isolation, but her desire to break free was growing stronger every day. Helen's parents witnessed her struggle and determination. They knew they had to find a way to bridge the gap between Helen and the world. They read books, talked to doctors, and reached out to schools for the blind and deaf. They were searching for a key to unlock Helen's prison, a guide who could lead her into the light of communication and understanding. Their search led them to Anne Sullivan, a young teacher with a unique approach to teaching. Anne had overcome her challenges with vision loss, and she was full of ideas and optimism. When Helen's parents learned about Anne, they felt a spark of hope. Could she be the one to change Helen's life? Anne arrived at the Keller home with a mission. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was prepared to do whatever it took. From the moment Anne met Helen, she saw the intelligence and potential behind those searching hands. Anne was determined to reach the bright mind, trapped in silence and darkness. The journey was not smooth. There were moments of frustration and misunderstanding. Helen was used to her own ways, and Anne's methods were new and challenging. But Anne was patient. She believed in Helen, and slowly they started to make progress. Anne introduced Helen to the manual alphabet, spelling words into her hand. At first, Helen didn't understand. The signs were just shapes and movements. But Anne persisted. She spelled water as she let water run over Helen's hand. In that moment, something clicked. Helen made the connection between the word and the sensation. It was the key turning in the lock. This breakthrough was just the beginning. Helen's hunger for knowledge was awakened. She wanted to learn more words, more about the world that had been so out of reach. Each new word was a step out of her prison of isolation. Helen's relationship with Anne grew stronger. Anne was not just a teacher but a lifeline, connecting Helen to the world. Helen started to understand that she was not alone. There were people who cared, stories to be shared, and a whole world to explore. As Helen learned to communicate, her frustration decreased. She was still in a world of silence and darkness, But now she had a way to reach out. She could express her thoughts and feelings. Helen was beginning to break free from her prison of isolation. This chapter in Helen Keller's life is a testament to the power of perseverance and the human spirit. Despite being trapped in a world of silence and darkness, Helen's desire to connect and learn helped her overcome unimaginable obstacles. With Anne Sullivan's guidance, Helen started on a path that would lead her to become a famous lecturer and activist. Her story is a beacon of hope, showing that with determination and the right support, anyone can break free from their prisons of isolation. Chapter 4. A Ray of Hope. In the spring of 1887, a young teacher named Anne Sullivan arrived at Helen Keller's home in Alabama. This moment was the beginning of a new chapter in Helen's life, a chapter filled with hope and possibilities. Anne Sullivan was about to become more than just a teacher to Helen. She would become her friend, her mentor, and her connection to the world. Anne had faced her own struggles with vision loss, which gave her a unique understanding of Helen's challenges. She was determined, patient, and innovative in her teaching methods. Anne knew that reaching Helen would not be easy, but she was ready for the challenge. From the moment they met, Anne started to teach Helen how to communicate using the manual alphabet, spelling out words in Helen's hand. This method was new to Helen, and she did not understand its purpose at first. But Anne was persistent. She believed that once Helen made the connection between the words spelled in her hand and the objects around her, Helen's world would open up. The breakthrough came when Anne took Helen to the water pump outside. It was a warm day, and the cool water was flowing. Anne held Helen's hand under the water and spelled W-A-T-E-R into her other hand. At first, Helen was just enjoying the sensation of the water. But then, something clicked. Helen realized that the movements Anne was making in her hand represented the cool, flowing substance she was feeling. This moment was a revelation for Helen. The world was no longer a puzzle. It was a place full of names and stories. Helen's excitement was boundless. She wanted to learn the names of everything around her. Anne spelled ground, sky, tree, and many other words into Helen's hand. With each new word, Helen's understanding of the world grew. She was like a thirsty plant finally getting water. Helen's curiosity was insatiable, and Anne was there to guide her every step of the way. The bond between Helen and Anne grew stronger with each passing day. Anne was not just teaching Helen how to communicate. She was teaching her how to live in a world that was not designed for people who are blind and deaf. Helen learned how to read Braille, a system of raised dots that represent letters and numbers. She also learned how to use a typewriter, which allowed her to write her own stories and letters. But Anne's lessons went beyond language and communication. She taught Helen about patience, resilience, and the importance of fighting for what you believe in. These lessons shaped Helen into the person she would become: an advocate for people with disabilities, a renowned lecturer, and an inspiration to millions. Anne's arrival in Helen's life was indeed a ray of hope. She opened the door to a world that Helen thought was forever closed to her. Together, they faced challenges and celebrated victories. Their journey was not easy, but it was filled with moments of joy and discovery. Helen Keller's story is a testament to the power of education and the difference one person can make in another's life. Anne Sullivan was that person for Helen. She saw Helen's potential when others saw limitations. She believed in Helen's ability to learn and grow, even when Helen herself was doubtful. This chapter in Helen Keller's life reminds us that hope can come from unexpected places. It shows us that with the right support and determination, barriers can be broken and dreams can be achieved. Helen and Anne's story is not just about overcoming disability, it's about the strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of friendship and education. As we move forward in Helen's story, we'll see how she used the tools Anne gave her to navigate the world. Helen's achievements were not just for herself. They were for everyone who faces challenges. She became a voice for those who were often ignored or underestimated. Helen Keller's life is a beacon of hope, showing that with courage, support, and determination, anything is possible. Chapter 5. Unlocking the Door. In the early days of spring, a remarkable event happened in the life of Helen Keller, a moment that would forever change her path. This was the day when Helen finally understood the connection between the mysterious movements Anne Sullivan made in her hand and the objects in the world around her. The key to this understanding was a simple, everyday element: water. On that pivotal day, Anne led Helen to the old water pump outside their home. The sun was shining brightly, and the air was filled with the fresh scent of spring. Helen felt the warmth of the sun on her face and the gentle breeze in her hair. She knew this place well, as it was one of her favourite spots to explore. Yet today was different. Today Anne had a special lesson in mind. Anne placed one of Helen's hands under the stream of cool water flowing from the pump. With her other hand, Anne began spelling a word, letter by letter, into Helen's palm. W-A-T-E-R. At first, Helen was puzzled. She enjoyed the sensation of the cool water, but didn't understand what Anne was trying to tell her. Anne repeated the action several times, spelling the word water into Helen's hand while the water ran over her other hand. Suddenly, something clicked in Helen's mind. She realized that the movements Anne was making in her palm were not random. They meant something. They were a name for the cool, refreshing sensation she was feeling. The word water and the substance flowing over her hand were connected. This realization was like a spark lighting up a dark room. Helen's face lit up with understanding and excitement. She quickly asked Anne to spell the names of other things around them. Anne complied, spelling pump, ground, tree, and many more. Helen couldn't get enough. It was as if a door had been unlocked, and behind it was a world full of names and meanings waiting to be discovered. For Helen, this moment was the beginning of true communication. She now understood that everything had a name, and those names could be spelled in her hand. This understanding was the foundation upon which she would build her knowledge of the world. It was the key that unlocked the door to language, learning, and ultimately, freedom from the isolation that had surrounded her. The breakthrough at the water pump was not just significant for Helen, it was a monumental moment for Anne as well. It validated her belief in Helen's potential and her own methods of teaching. This success strengthened the bond between teacher and student, a bond that would grow deeper with each passing day. From that day forward, Helen's world expanded rapidly. She was eager to learn the names of everything she could touch, smell, and taste. With Anne's help, Helen learned that words could also express thoughts and feelings, not just names for objects. This was a powerful realization, as it opened up new ways for Helen to interact with the world and the people in it. Helen's journey of learning was filled with challenges, but her determination never wavered. She approached each new lesson with enthusiasm and perseverance. Anne was always there, guiding her, encouraging her, and celebrating her achievements. Together, they proved that with patience, hard work, and a belief in oneself, even the most formidable barriers could be overcome. The story of Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan is a testament to the transformative power of education and the human spirit's resilience. Helen's breakthrough moment at the water pump was just the beginning of her journey from darkness and silence into a world of light and sound. It was a journey that would see her become one of the most inspirational figures in history, a symbol of hope, courage, and the endless possibilities that lie within us all. This chapter in Helen Keller's life reminds us that learning is a door to freedom, and understanding is the key that unlocks it. Helen's story encourages us to persevere in the face of obstacles, to embrace the joy of discovery, and to never underestimate the power of communication. It is a story that continues to inspire and educate, a story that speaks to the heart of what it means to overcome and achieve. Chapter 6. Words and Worlds Opened. Following her breakthrough at the water pump, Helen Keller's world transformed. What was once a silent and dark place began to fill with light and sound, even if only in her mind. The realization that everything had a name, and that these names could be communicated through the manual alphabet, ignited a passion for learning in Helen that was unmatched. With Anne Sullivan by her side, Helen embarked on a journey of discovery that was both swift and astonishing. Every day brought new words, and each word opened the door to new concepts, experiences, and understandings. Helen was like a sponge, absorbing everything Anne taught her with an eagerness and enthusiasm that amazed everyone around her. Helen's initial joy at learning the names of simple objects around her quickly evolved into a desire to learn more about the world and how it worked. She asked endless questions, which Anne patiently answered. Trees, animals, the sun, the moon, the stars. Nothing was beyond Helen's curiosity. With each new word, Helen's understanding of the world expanded, and with it, her desire to learn more grew. Anne introduced Helen to books, using raised letters that Helen could feel with her fingers. This was a revelation for Helen, as it opened up a whole new world of knowledge and imagination. Helen learned to read quickly, and reading became one of her greatest joys. Through books, she could explore places she had never been, meet people she had never seen, and experience things she had never imagined. Books were a gateway to a world without limits, a world where Helen was no longer confined by her disabilities. But Helen's education was not limited to reading. Anne taught her how to write using a special typewriter designed for the blind. This allowed Helen to express her thoughts and feelings in a way she had never been able to before. Writing gave Helen a voice, and she used it to share her experiences, her hopes, and her dreams. One of the most significant moments in Helen's learning journey was when she discovered the concept of love. Anne explained to her that love was not something you could see or touch, but something you felt in your heart. This was a difficult concept for Helen to grasp, but when she did, it was a profound realization. Love was the connection she felt with Anne, her family, and the friends she would later make. It was a powerful force that transcended the physical world, and it became a central theme in Helen's life and writings. As Helen's knowledge grew, so did her confidence. She began to form her own opinions about the world and the people in it. She developed a deep sense of empathy and a desire to make the world a better place. Helen's early experiences of isolation and frustration had given her a unique perspective on the challenges faced by people with disabilities, and she became determined to advocate for their rights and dignity. Helen's rapid progress in learning language was not just a testament to her intelligence and determination, but also to the innovative teaching methods of Anne Sullivan. Anne had unlocked Helen's potential, and together they had proven that with the right support and opportunities, people with disabilities could achieve great things. Helen Keller's journey from darkness and silence to a world filled with words and discoveries is a powerful reminder of the transformative power of education. It shows us that barriers can be overcome, that knowledge is a pathway to freedom, and that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, has the potential to learn, grow, and contribute to the world in meaningful ways. As we continue to explore Helen's life, we will see how she used her education, her voice, and her indomitable spirit to break down barriers, not just for herself, but for others who faced similar challenges. Helen Keller's story is one of courage, perseverance, and the unbreakable human spirit. It is a story that continues to inspire and educate, a story that shows us that anything is possible when we dare to dream and work hard to turn those dreams into reality. Chapter 7. The Challenge of Education. Helen Keller's journey of learning had only just begun. With a world of words at her fingertips and an insatiable thirst for knowledge, Helen set her sights on a new challenge. Formal education. Her ambition was not just to learn, but to excel and to use her education to make a difference in the world. This next step in her journey led her to the Perkins Institute for the Blind, a place that promised new opportunities and experiences. The decision to attend Perkins was a significant one. It meant leaving the comfort of her home and the constant guidance of Anne Sullivan. However, Helen's desire to learn and grow was stronger than any apprehension she might have felt. With Anne's support, Helen prepared to embark on this new adventure. Arriving at the Perkins Institute was a moment of mixed emotions for Helen. She was excited to meet other students who were blind or visually impaired and to learn from them. But she also faced the reality of being in a new environment, one that was unfamiliar and challenging. The Institute was a place of rigorous academic standards, and Helen was determined to meet and surpass these expectations. The early days at Perkins were not easy. Helen had to adjust to a structured schedule, new teaching methods, and the demands of academic life. However, she was no stranger to overcoming obstacles. With her characteristic determination and the support of her teachers and Anne, Helen quickly adapted to her new surroundings. One of the greatest challenges Helen faced was learning to communicate with people who were not familiar with the manual alphabet that Anne had taught her. This required patience and creativity, both from Helen and those around her. But Helen's ability to learn and adapt shone through. She found ways to bridge the communication gap, making friends and forming connections with her classmates and teachers. Helen's time at Perkins was marked by significant academic achievements. She learned Braille, which opened up a vast library of books and resources to her. She also excelled in her studies, impressing her teachers and peers with her intelligence, work ethic, and determination. However, Helen's education at Perkins was more than just academic learning. It was here that she began to develop a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by people with disabilities. She saw firsthand the barriers to education and employment, the social isolation, and the prejudice that many of her classmates experienced. These observations fueled Helen's growing desire to advocate for change. Helen's years at the Perkins Institute were transformative. She gained not only academic knowledge but also a sense of purpose and a vision for her future. Helen wanted to use her education to break down the barriers that held people with disabilities back. She dreamed of a world where everyone had the opportunity to learn, work, and live with dignity and respect. As Helen prepared to leave Perkins, she knew that her journey was far from over. She had ambitions to attend college, a goal that was unheard of for someone with her disabilities at that time. But Helen was not deterred by the skepticism of others. She had faced doubt and disbelief before, and she had proved her critics wrong every time. Helen's determination to pursue higher education was not just about personal achievement. It was about setting an example and opening doors for others who would follow in her footsteps. Helen Keller's time at the Perkins Institute for the Blind was a crucial chapter in her life, one that prepared her for the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. Helen left Perkins with a deep gratitude for the education she had received and a commitment to use her knowledge and skills to make a difference. Her experiences at Perkins had shown her the power of education to transform lives, and she was determined to fight for that right for all people, regardless of their abilities. The challenge of education had been met with courage, perseverance, and an unwavering belief in the potential of every individual to learn and grow. Helen Keller's journey through the halls of Perkins was a testament to her spirit and a preview of the extraordinary life she would lead as an advocate, author, and inspiration to millions around the world. Chapter 8. Breaking Barriers. As Helen Keller grew older, her desire for knowledge and her ambition to break down the barriers that faced her only grew stronger. She had already accomplished so much, learning to communicate through the manual alphabet, reading in Braille, and writing her own thoughts and stories. But Helen knew there was still one challenge that many thought impossible for her to overcome: learning to speak. Helen was determined to find her voice, to be able to express herself not just through the written word, but aloud, so that everyone could hear her. It was a daunting challenge. How could someone who had never heard speech learn to talk? Yet, Helen was no stranger to overcoming seemingly impossible challenges. With Anne Sullivan's guidance and her own unyielding resolve, Helen embarked on this new journey. Anne found a teacher who specialized in teaching speech to deaf individuals. Helen's lessons were rigorous and required immense concentration and effort. She placed her fingers on her teacher's throat and lips, feeling the vibrations and movements that produced speech. Day by day, with patience and persistence, Helen began to understand how to form sounds, and eventually, words. Learning to speak was one of Helen's most challenging tasks, yet she approached it with her characteristic optimism and perseverance. Her progress was slow, and at times she became frustrated. However, Helen never gave up. She practiced tirelessly, motivated by her desire to share her thoughts and ideas with even more people. Helen's efforts paid off. Though her speech was not perfect and she spoke with an accent, she could make herself understood. This was a monumental achievement, not just for Helen personally, but as a message to the world about the potential of individuals with disabilities. With this newfound ability, Helen's ambitions soared even higher. She had conquered communication through sign, reading, writing, and now speech. What was next? Helen set her sights on a goal that was as ambitious as learning to speak: attending college. Helen's decision to attend Radcliffe College was groundbreaking. At the time, Radcliffe was one of the few institutions of higher education that admitted women, but none had ever faced the challenges Helen did. Helen would be the first deaf-blind person to attend a college not specifically for individuals with disabilities. The path to Radcliffe was not easy. Helen had to pass rigorous entrance exams, which she prepared for with Anne's help. The exams were challenging for all students, but Helen faced additional obstacles. Anne had to sign the exam questions into Helen's hand, and Helen would then answer them in writing. This process was exhausting and time-consuming, but Helen's hard work and determination paid off. She passed the exams and was admitted to Radcliffe College. Helen's time at Radcliffe was challenging. She needed to have textbooks translated into Braille, or have them read to her, and Anne continued to be her interpreter, translating lectures and discussions into the manual alphabet. Despite these challenges, Helen thrived academically. She was an eager and dedicated student, passionate about learning and grateful for the opportunity to pursue higher education. Helen's success at Radcliffe was a testament to her intelligence, determination, and the support she received from Anne and others who believed in her. Her time at college was not just about personal achievement. It was about breaking down barriers and changing perceptions about what individuals with disabilities could accomplish. Helen Keller's journey from learning to speak to attending Radcliffe College is a remarkable story of courage, resilience, and the pursuit of dreams against all odds. It shows that with hard work, determination, and the right support, even the most formidable barriers can be overcome. Helen's story continues to inspire and educate, reminding us that we all have the potential to achieve great things, no matter what challenges we may face. Chapter 9. The Struggle for Academia. When Helen Keller arrived at Radcliffe College, she was stepping into uncharted territory. She was the first deaf-blind person to attend such an institution, not just as a personal challenge, but also as a beacon of hope for others who faced similar barriers. However, the path through academia was fraught with difficulties, testing Helen's resolve and determination at every turn. Helen's academic journey was unlike that of any other student at Radcliffe. Every class, every lecture, and every exam presented unique challenges that she had to navigate. Despite these hurdles, Helen's thirst for knowledge and her unwavering spirit drove her forward. One of the biggest challenges Helen faced was accessing the materials she needed for her studies. Textbooks and academic papers were not readily available in Braille during that time. This meant that much of Helen's study material had to be translated into Braille or read to her, a time-consuming process that required additional resources and assistance. Anne Sullivan, ever by Helen's side, played a crucial role in Helen's academic journey. Anne attended classes with Helen, interpreting lectures and discussions for her in real time. This was no small feat, as it required Anne to translate complex academic content into a form that Helen could understand through touch alone. The physical and mental toll on both women was immense, but their partnership and mutual dedication to Helen's education never wavered. Helen's determination to succeed in her studies was matched by her resolve to fully participate in college life. She engaged in discussions, contributed to group projects, and took part in college events. Her presence at Radcliffe was a statement that people with disabilities could not only attend college, but could thrive and contribute meaningfully to the academic community. However, not all challenges Helen faced were academic in nature. Navigating the social landscape of college life was also difficult. While many were inspired by Helen's courage and determination, there were others who doubted her abilities and questioned her place at Radcliffe. Helen, with her characteristic grace and resilience, chose to focus on her studies and on those who supported her journey, rather than on the skeptics. Despite these obstacles, Helen achieved remarkable academic success. She worked tirelessly, often studying late into the night to keep up with her coursework. Her efforts paid off when she graduated with honours, a testament to her intelligence, hard work, and the support of those who believed in her potential. Helen's time at Radcliffe College was more than just an academic pursuit. It was a journey of self-discovery and advocacy. She emerged not only with a degree, but also with a deeper understanding of her own capabilities and a renewed commitment to fighting for the rights and dignity of people with disabilities. The story of Helen Keller's struggle and success in academia is a powerful reminder of the transformative power of education. It shows that with determination, support, and a willingness to overcome obstacles, anyone can achieve their dreams. Helen's journey through Radcliffe College is a testament to her indomitable spirit and an inspiration to all who face challenges in the pursuit of their goals. Helen Keller's academic achievements at Radcliffe College broke new ground and opened doors for future generations of students with disabilities. Her story is not just about overcoming personal challenges. It's about changing perceptions and challenging societal barriers. Helen's success at Radcliffe was a victory not only for her, but for all who believe in the power of education to change lives. Chapter 10. A Voice for the Silent. After her triumphant graduation from Radcliffe College, Helen Keller was not content to rest on her laurels. Her experiences had forged in her a deep resolve to advocate for those who, like her, faced the world with disabilities. Helen embarked on a new chapter in her life, one that would see her become a voice for the silent, a champion for the rights of the disabled. Helen's journey into activism and lecturing was inspired by her own struggles and triumphs. She knew firsthand the barriers that people with disabilities encountered, not just physically, but also in terms of societal attitudes and misconceptions. Helen, with her unparalleled determination and the support of Anne Sullivan, set out to challenge and change these perceptions. Becoming a public speaker was another daunting challenge for Helen. While she had learned to speak, communicating her thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively to an audience required her to refine her skills further. Helen approached this challenge with her usual tenacity, practicing her speech and learning to modulate her voice with the help of voice coaches. Anne was always by her side, offering encouragement and feedback. Helen's first forays into public speaking were met with astonishment and admiration. Audiences were captivated not only by her ability to speak, but also by the depth of her insights and the passion with which she delivered her messages. Helen spoke on a variety of topics, but her primary focus was on the rights and potential of people with disabilities. She advocated for access to education, employment opportunities, and the removal of societal barriers that kept disabled individuals from leading full, productive lives. Helen's activism took her across the United States and eventually around the world. She met with politicians, educators, and leaders, urging them to consider the needs of the disabled in their policies and programs. Helen's advocacy was not limited to speeches. She wrote articles and books, sharing her story and her vision for a more inclusive world. One of Helen's most powerful messages was that disability did not define a person. She challenged the notion that people with disabilities were to be pitied or looked down upon. Instead, she emphasized their abilities, their potential, and their right to be treated as equals in every aspect of society. Helen's work as an activist and lecturer brought her into contact with many other influential figures of her time, including presidents, royalty, and fellow activists. These encounters helped to elevate her cause, bringing greater attention and support to the issues she championed. But Helen's activism was not without its challenges. She faced skepticism and resistance from some quarters, with critics questioning her ability to understand the issues she spoke about or suggesting that her speeches were the work of others. Helen confronted these challenges head-on, proving through her intelligence, eloquence, and depth of knowledge that she was a formidable advocate in her own right. Throughout her career as an activist and lecturer, Helen remained committed to the idea that with compassion, understanding, and action, the world could become a better place for people with disabilities. She saw disability as part of the human experience, a facet of diversity that should be embraced and accommodated, not shunned or ignored. Helen Keller's transition from a student overcoming her own disabilities to a global advocate for the rights of the disabled marked a significant chapter in her extraordinary life. She became not just a voice for the silent, but a symbol of hope and possibility for millions around the world. Helen's legacy as an activist and lecturer continues to inspire and influence the fight for disability rights, reminding us that every individual has value and potential, regardless of the challenges they face. Through her words and actions, Helen Keller tore down barriers and built bridges, showing the world that disability does not diminish a person's ability to make a significant impact. Her journey from the confines of silence and darkness to the world stage is a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and effect change. Chapter 11. Worldwide Recognition. Helen Keller's relentless advocacy and her powerful message of hope and equality began to echo far beyond the borders of her home country. Her extraordinary journey from isolation to being a global spokesperson for the disabled captured the world's attention. This chapter in Helen's life is a testament to her incredible impact as she gained worldwide recognition, bringing her advocacy to an international stage. After establishing herself as a formidable activist and lecturer in the United States, Helen set her sights on the wider world. She knew that the challenges and barriers faced by people with disabilities were not confined to any one country. They were universal issues that required a global conversation. Helen, along with Anne Sullivan, embarked on a series of travels that would take her around the world, from Europe to Asia and beyond. Helen's travels were not merely visits. They were missions of advocacy and connection. In each country she visited, Helen met with leaders, educators and citizens, sharing her story and the message that disability should not define one's life or limit one's potential. Her speeches drew large crowds, moved by her words and inspired by her presence. Helen spoke not only about the rights of the disabled, but also about peace, education, and the power of kinness and understanding in bridging divides. One of the most remarkable aspects of Helen's travels was her ability to connect with people from all walks of life, regardless of language, culture, or status. She was welcomed by kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers, who were eager to hear her insights and support her cause. However, it was her interactions with ordinary people, especially those living with disabilities, that were the most profound. Helen offered them hope, showing them that they were not alone and that their dreams were worth pursuing. Helen's worldwide recognition also brought attention to the organizations she worked with, including the American Foundation for the Blind. Her advocacy helped to raise funds and support for programs and initiatives aimed at improving the lives of the disabled. Helen's efforts contributed to significant advancements in education, accessibility, and rights for people with disabilities across the globe. Throughout her travels, Helen faced the same challenges that had accompanied her throughout her life. Communication required careful planning and assistance, and the demands of travel were physically taxing. Yet Helen's determination never wavered. She viewed each obstacle as an opportunity to demonstrate the capabilities of individuals with disabilities and to inspire others to overcome their challenges. Helen's worldwide recognition was not just a testament to her personal achievements. It was a reflection of a changing world, increasingly aware of the need for inclusivity and equality. Helen challenged societies to rethink their attitudes towards disability and to take action to create a more accommodating world for all its citizens. The impact of Helen Keller's international advocacy cannot be overstated. She did not just speak for the disabled, she gave them a voice. She did not just campaign for change, she inspired it. Helen's travels and speeches around the world laid the foundation for future generations to continue the fight for rights and recognition for people with disabilities. As Helen's fame grew, so did the legend of her life's story. Books, films, and plays were created to tell her tale, reaching audiences that Helen herself could not. Her story became a source of inspiration for people facing all kinds of challenges, a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the power of determination and hope. Helen Keller's worldwide recognition was a remarkable chapter in an extraordinary life. It showed that one person, facing seemingly insurmountable odds, could change the world. Helen's legacy is a testament to the idea that with courage, compassion, and commitment, it is possible to make a lasting difference in the lives of others. Her message of hope, equality, and the importance of education and advocacy continues to resonate, making Helen Keller a timeless figure of inspiration. Chapter 12. The Power of Friendship. In the remarkable journey of Helen Keller, one thread weaves consistently through the tapestry of her life: the profound and enduring friendship with Anne Sullivan. This chapter delves into the depth of their relationship, exploring how this unique bond not only shaped Helen's life, but also exemplified the transformative power of friendship. From the moment Anne Sullivan arrived at the Keller household in Alabama, the connection between teacher and student was palpable. Initially, Anne was viewed as a teacher, a bridge to the world for Helen. However, as time passed, their relationship deepened, transcending the conventional bounds of teacher and pupil to become one of lifelong friends and companions. Anne Sullivan, with her unwavering patience, innovative teaching methods, and deep empathy, unlocked the world for Helen. She taught Helen to communicate, to read and to write, but more importantly, she taught Helen to believe in herself. This belief was the foundation upon which Helen built her extraordinary achievements. Yet, it was their friendship that truly empowered Helen to face the world with confidence and determination. Their bond was forged in the fires of challenge and adversity. Together they navigated the difficulties of Helen's education, from the frustrations of learning to communicate to the rigors of academic life at Radcliffe College. Anne was always there, not just as an aide, but as a trusted friend who understood Helen's struggles and triumphs like no one else could. The significance of their friendship was perhaps most evident in their public life. As Helen embarked on her journey as an activist and lecturer, Anne remained by her side, interpreting speeches and engaging with audiences. This partnership allowed Helen to share her message with the world, but it also highlighted the depth of their connection. They were a team, facing the world together, with Anne providing the support Helen needed to shine. Their friendship was not without its trials. The demands of their work, coupled with the challenges of navigating a world not designed for people with disabilities, put pressure on both women. Yet, these challenges only served to strengthen their bond. They relied on each other, not just for practical support, but for emotional strength. Their friendship was a source of comfort and joy in a world that often did not understand them. Anne's health began to decline in her later years, yet Helen remained a steadfast friend. Just as Anne had supported her through the darkest times, Helen was there for Anne, offering love and support. Their roles evolved, but the essence of their friendship remained unchanged. It was a testament to their deep connection that even in Anne's final days, Helen was by her side, a true friend to the end. The story of Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan is a powerful reminder of the impact one person can have on another's life. Their friendship was transformative, not just for Helen, but for the world. It demonstrated the potential for empathy, understanding, and support to change lives. Helen became an icon of perseverance and achievement, but behind her success was the power of friendship with Anne Sullivan. Their legacy is a beacon for the importance of connections between people. It shows that true friendship can overcome the most daunting obstacles, providing strength, encouragement, and love. Helen and Anne's story is not just about overcoming disability, it's about the human spirit, the power of education, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. As we reflect on the extraordinary life of Helen Keller, we cannot overlook the significance of her relationship with Anne Sullivan. It was a friendship that shaped her, empowered her, and enabled her to leave an indelible mark on the world. This chapter celebrates not only Helen's achievements, but also the enduring power of friendship, a force capable of unlocking potential and transforming lives. Chapter 13. Overcoming New Challenges. In the later years of her life, Helen Keller continued to face and overcome challenges, both personally and in her advocacy work. Her journey, marked by relentless perseverance, serves as a testament to her indomitable spirit. Despite facing personal health issues, Helen never wavered in her commitment to advocate for the rights and welfare of people with disabilities around the world. As Helen aged, she encountered the same health challenges that many face in their later years. However, for Helen, these challenges were compounded by her existing disabilities. Her resilience was tested once more, but Helen approached these obstacles with the same courage and determination that had characterized her entire life. She adapted to her changing physical condition, finding new ways to continue her work and maintain her independence. Helen's advocacy efforts also evolved during this period. She recognized the global scope of the struggle for disability rights and expanded her work to address the needs of people with disabilities worldwide. Helen became a prominent figure on the international stage, working with organizations to promote education, accessibility, and employment opportunities for the disabled community. Her message was clear: disability should not be a barrier to leading a full and productive life. One of the most significant challenges Helen tackled in her later years was raising awareness about the importance of accessibility. She pushed for the creation of Braille books and resources, advocating for public buildings to be made accessible to people with disabilities. Helen understood that accessibility was key to empowerment and independence for the disabled community. Her efforts contributed to significant advancements in accessibility standards and practices, laying the groundwork for future legislation and policy changes. Helen also continued her work as a lecturer and author, despite the physical demands these activities placed on her. She published articles and books that shared her insights into living with disabilities and her vision for a more inclusive world. Helen's writings not only educated the public about the challenges faced by people with disabilities, but also inspired others to take action and support the cause. Throughout her life, Helen Keller had relied on the support of friends and colleagues to achieve her goals. In her later years, this support network became even more crucial. Despite the loss of Anne Sullivan, her lifelong companion and friend, Helen found strength in the relationships she had built with others who shared her commitment to advocacy. These individuals helped Helen continue her work, serving as her eyes, ears, and voice when needed. Helen's personal health challenges in her later years did not diminish her impact. In fact, they added a new dimension to her advocacy, highlighting the importance of support systems and accessible healthcare for the elderly and disabled. Helen's own experiences underscored the message she had been promoting throughout her life: that with the right support and opportunities, individuals with disabilities can lead rich, fulfilling lives. In the face of new challenges, Helen Keller remained a beacon of hope and a source of inspiration. Her legacy is not just one of overcoming adversity, but of actively working to change the world for the better. Helen's life story teaches us that challenges, whether personal or societal, can be overcome with determination, support, and a belief in the power of advocacy. As we reflect on Helen Keller's later years, we are reminded of the enduring nature of her spirit and the timeless relevance of her message. Helen's work in her final decades reaffirmed her status as a tireless advocate for the rights of people with disabilities, and her legacy continues to inspire efforts to build a more inclusive and accessible world. Helen Keller's story, from her early struggles to her achievements as an advocate, embodies the idea that life's challenges, no matter how daunting, can be met with resilience and grace. Her life is a testament to the fact that barriers can be broken down and new challenges overcome with persistence, courage, and a commitment to making a difference. Chapter 14. The Legacy Lives On. As the sun set on the remarkable life of Helen Keller, her legacy began to cast a long and inspiring shadow across the world. Helen's journey, characterized by unparalleled challenges, unwavering perseverance, and a deep commitment to improving the lives of others, left an indelible mark on society. Her accomplishments transcended her era, continuing to influence and inspire long after her passing. Helen Keller's story is one of triumph over adversity, a narrative that has empowered countless individuals to face their challenges with courage and determination. But Helen's legacy is more than just her personal story of overcoming being deaf and blind to achieve great things. It is also found in the substantial impact of her advocacy work, her contributions to literature, and her role as a symbol of hope and resilience. Through her tireless efforts, Helen Keller played a pivotal role in changing public perceptions of disability. She challenged the notion that individuals with disabilities were incapable of contributing to society, proving through her own achievements that with the right support and opportunities, people can excel regardless of their physical limitations. Helen's work helped pave the way for significant advancements in rights, accessibility, and education for people with disabilities. Helen's writings, which include numerous articles, books, and speeches, continue to educate and inspire. Her autobiographical works, most notably The Story of My Life, offer profound insights into the world of someone living with disabilities, while also conveying universal messages about the human spirit's resilience. Helen's literary contributions have become essential reading, not only for those interested in her life, but for anyone seeking motivation and insight into facing life's challenges. Moreover, Helen's advocacy for education and accessibility has had a lasting impact on policies and practices worldwide. Her efforts contributed to the establishment of schools, libraries, and programs designed to support individuals with disabilities. Today, the rights of people with disabilities are recognized globally, with laws and regulations in place to ensure accessibility and equality. While there is still progress to be made, Helen's influence on these advancements cannot be overstated. Helen Keller's legacy also lives on through the institutions she supported and worked with throughout her life. The American Foundation for the Blind, for example, continues to champion the rights and needs of individuals with visual impairments, building on the foundation Helen helped establish. Her work with other organizations, including those focusing on deafness, education, and women's rights, has inspired continued efforts to support and advocate for marginalized communities. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of Helen Keller's legacy is the hope and inspiration she provides to people facing their challenges. Helen's life story is a testament to the idea that limitations, whether physical or societal, can be overcome with persistence, innovation, and support. Her message of hope, her advocacy for change, and her belief in the potential of every individual continue to resonate with people around the world. As we reflect on Helen Keller's legacy, we are reminded of the power of one person to effect change. Helen's achievements in the face of incredible odds demonstrate that with determination and compassion, it is possible to overcome barriers and make a lasting impact on the world. Her life encourages youth to strive for a more inclusive, understanding, and equitable society where everyone has the opportunity to realize their potential. Helen Keller's legacy is not just about the past, it is about the future. It challenges us to continue her work, to advocate for those who are still fighting for their rights and recognition, and to ensure that the progress she helped initiate continues to move forward. Helen Keller's story, her accomplishments, and her enduring impact serve as a beacon of hope, guiding us towards a brighter, more inclusive world. Chapter 15. The Light of Knowledge. In the tapestry of Helen Keller's life, woven with threads of courage and determination, one of the most radiant patterns is her commitment to education for the blind and deaf. Helen believed deeply in the transformative power of knowledge, and she dedicated a significant portion of her life to ensuring that individuals like herself had access to education. Her efforts in this area not only changed countless lives, but also left a lasting legacy that continues to illuminate the path forward. Helen's own experiences with education had taught her both its challenges and its rewards. She knew firsthand the barriers that existed for people with disabilities in accessing quality education. Yet she also knew the liberating power of learning, which had opened the world to her in ways she could never have imagined before meeting Anne Sullivan. Determined to share this gift with others, Helen worked tirelessly to advocate for educational opportunities for the blind and deaf. One of Helen's significant contributions to education was her work with the American Foundation for the Blind, AFB. Helen joined the foundation in the early 1920s and quickly became its most visible and influential advocate. She traveled across the United States and around the world, raising awareness about the needs and capabilities of the blind. Helen's eloquence and passion, coupled with her personal story, inspired donations, support, and changes in policy that benefited educational programs for the blind. Helen was instrumental in establishing Braille libraries and promoting the use of Braille, which she saw as a critical tool for independence and learning. She understood that access to books and resources in Braille opened up a world of knowledge and opportunity for blind individuals. Under her influence, the AFB worked to expand its collection of Braille books and resources, making literature, textbooks, and educational materials accessible to blind students and adults alike. Moreover, Helen advocated for the integration of blind students into the public school system. She believed that with the right support and accommodations, children with disabilities could learn alongside their peers, enriching the educational experience for everyone. Helen's advocacy in this area contributed to a greater understanding and acceptance of inclusive education, laying the groundwork for future legislation that would ensure rights to education for all children, regardless of disability. Helen's work extended beyond the borders of the United States. She was a champion for the blind and deaf on an international scale, working with organizations around the world to promote education and support for individuals with disabilities. Her travels took her to countries where she met with educators, policymakers, and community leaders, sharing her vision for a world where every person had access to the education and resources they needed to thrive. Helen's contributions to education for the blind and deaf are also reflected in her support for the Perkins Institute for the Blind, where her own journey with Anne Sullivan began. She maintained a lifelong connection to Perkins, supporting its mission and programs. Helen's advocacy helped to secure funding and resources for the Institute, ensuring that it could continue to serve as a beacon of hope and learning for future generations. The legacy of Helen Keller in the realm of education is profound. Through her work, she not only improved the lives of countless individuals with disabilities, but also changed societal attitudes toward disability and education. Helen's belief in the right to education for all, her advocacy for accessible learning resources, and her support for inclusive education practices have had a lasting impact. Today, the light of knowledge that Helen Keller ignited continues to burn brightly. Educational programs for the blind and deaf around the world owe a debt to her vision and perseverance. Her life's work serves as a reminder of the importance of education in empowering individuals and transforming lives. It is a legacy that challenges us to continue the fight for accessibility, equality, and opportunity in education for every person, no matter the obstacles they may face. Chapter 16. Eternal Flame. As the story of Helen Keller comes to a close, it is clear that her spirit and determination have kindled an eternal flame, one that continues to illuminate and inspire generations around the world. Helen's life was a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Her legacy is not confined to the pages of history. It lives on, influencing and motivating people across the globe. Helen Keller's journey from the darkness and silence of her early years to becoming an international symbol of courage and resilience demonstrates what is possible when determination meets opportunity. Her achievements in overcoming the barriers of being deaf and blind have shown the world that disabilities do not define a person's abilities or potential. Helen's life story continues to break down prejudices and open doors for people with disabilities, encouraging a more inclusive and understanding society. The impact of Helen's advocacy work, particularly in the fields of education and rights for people with disabilities, has left an indelible mark. Through her efforts, significant strides have been made in accessibility, educational opportunities, and societal attitudes towards disability. Helen Keller's vision of a world where everyone, regardless of their physical limitations, has the chance to lead a fulfilling and productive life has inspired changes in laws, policies, and practices worldwide. Furthermore, Helen's writings remain a source of inspiration and insight. Her books, essays, and speeches offer profound reflections on facing life's challenges, the importance of perseverance, and the value of friendship and support. Helen's words continue to resonate with individuals seeking motivation, reminding us of the importance of striving for our goals, regardless of the obstacles we may face. Helen Keller's spirit of determination is also a call to action. It challenges us to continue the work she began, advocating for the rights and dignity of all individuals, especially those living with disabilities. Her legacy encourages us to support educational initiatives, promote accessibility, and fight for equality, ensuring that her vision of a more inclusive world becomes a reality. The eternal flame of Helen Keller's legacy is also nurtured by the institutions and organizations she was associated with, such as the American Foundation for the Blind and the Perkins School for the Blind. These institutions continue to advance Helen's mission, working tirelessly to improve the lives of individuals with visual impairments and other disabilities. Through education, research, and advocacy, they carry forward the torch that Helen lit, spreading its light to new generations. Helen Keller's influence extends beyond her specific achievements and advocacy work. She embodies the idea that with hope, determination, and the support of others, it is possible to overcome life's greatest challenges. Helen's story is a universal one, touching the hearts of people from all walks of life and inspiring them to pursue their dreams, no matter how difficult they may seem. As we reflect on Helen Keller's extraordinary life, we are reminded of the enduring power of the human spirit. Her legacy is a testament to the fact that one person can make a difference, changing not only their own life, but also the world around them. Helen Keller's eternal flame continues to inspire us to face our challenges with courage, to support one another in our struggles, and to work towards a world that recognizes the potential and dignity of every individual. In conclusion, the story of Helen Keller is one of triumph, transformation, and timeless inspiration. It is a story that will continue to be told and retold, lighting the way for future generations. Helen Keller's legacy is an eternal flame, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unyielding belief in the power of the human spirit to overcome any obstacle.